Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, an episode I'm very excited to get into, an episode that we do every single offseason. We're giving out some preseason superlatives for the Miami Hurricanes rolling into 2026. Now, there are two things that rock about doing this episode. Number one, just the raw talent that's on this roster. It is not hard to assign superlatives to the Miami Hurricanes rolling into 2026. There are so many different names that excite me on this roster. More importantly, hearing from you guys. Buckle in. We got 8 superlatives to give out for the Miami Hurricanes rolling into 2026. There's a million different directions that you could go with these superlatives. I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. Please, please, please let it rip. I think personally it's the best part about this episode, an opportunity for all of us to kind of call our shot going into 2026. And then just a shout out. This fan base been awesome. Whether we're doing episodes like this, breaking down the recruiting trail, talking spring practice, sport's been awesome to the boys. Appreciate you guys. If y'all are new, you enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's start. We got 8 of them to get through. MVP. And now I decided to give out 2 MVPs, one for the offense, one for the defense. We're going to start on offense. You don't overthink this one. It's Malachi Toney. And there's really 2 different reasons why he's the obvious answer. Number 2, you could make the argument it's a fact. He's one of the best players in all of college football, but specifically his impact on this Miami Hurricanes offense, 2 different ways. Number 1, when he has the football, when he's getting involved himself. I mean, this was a wide receiver as a true freshman last year that led the country in yards after the catch. He led the country for wide receivers in missed tackles forced as well. This kid, when he has the football in his hands, he's got that it factor about him where he can change the game every single time you get him a touch. Now, the beauty about Malachi Toney here is it's so easy to manufacture those touches. There are a lot of really good football players that are kind of pigeonholed into playing one role in an offense. And it gets really hard to get your best players the ball when you have a guy like Malachi Toney. Put him in the slot, put him in the backfield, send him in motion, use him in a laundry list of different ways. All of a sudden, it gets really damn easy to get Malachi Toney involved as well. And that's what makes him different from a lot of other really, really good football players in the sport of college football. The versatility, the depth of the ways that you can get Malachi Toney involved. And you make no mistake about it, when Miami went in that, I call it a little bit of a rough patch or a rut in the middle of the season for that offense. How did they get out of that rut? Said, hey, we're going to build this sucker. We're going to build this offense around Malachi Toney. And when you did that, you saw this offense really take a step in the month of November and kind of kick it into gear. Now, the other reason is his presence. And he's one of those guys that gets the red Sharpie treatment. When you put him in motion or you put him in the backfield, everybody's like, hey, how do we take away the presence of Malachi Toney? Well, when you do that, it gives a lot of opportunity for everybody else on this football field. And I would make the argument that the depth of talent is much better around the quarterback this year. I mean, you look at last year and say, Malachi Toney was the focal point, and you got some nice production from CJ Daniels and Keelan Murray and obviously Mark Fletcher in the backfield. Well, I think you just got more of that going into 2026. So if you want to really structure your defense when you're playing Miami to take away Malachi Toney, you got a lot of other guys that can burn you on this offense as well. 100% clearly the MVP of the offense. Probably didn't need to spend 2 minutes on it. Now, MVP of the defense. Give me Justin Scott. And give me Justin Scott for a couple of different reasons. Number 1, I think the step that you're going to see from this kid is going to be monumental in the 2026 year, because we saw him turn the corner late last year. The version of Justin Scott that we saw in the college football playoffs was a dominant version, was a version that he's probably going to go in the top 20 of the NFL draft. We know what he can do in the pass rush. What excites me the most about Justin Scott is what he became against the run from the middle of that defensive line. And to a lot of Miami fans that I think follow this program really closely, yeah, you lose Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor. I don't think many Miami fans are all that worried about this team not getting after the passer. The pass rush should be really good. I think what concerns a lot of us is, hey, is Miami going to be as dominant against the run as they were last year? I think Justin Scott's going to be your answer. He is so active in the middle of that defensive line, block destruction, getting penetration. There are not many better interior defensive linemen in the run game than Justin Scott. And so not only helping provide a little bit of pass rush juice in the absence of Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesdor, but what he can do against the run. And here's the last part. He ain't going to come off the football field all that much. Like you look at Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesdor last year and the amount of snaps, just pure snaps they played. I'm not saying Justin Scott's going to play 800 snaps this year like a Ruben Bain, but I'm guessing he's going to get up 50, 60 snaps a game. That's just how good a football player he is. And then maybe a little bit of question marks about the depth of the defensive line as well. He feels like the most important player to this football team on defense. Number 2, breakout star. We might have to put this into gear a little bit, although we might just make this a long episode. Screw it. We got, we got a lot of really fun names to talk about. All right, number 2, we got the breakout star. On defense, I went with Armando Blunt, and I think he's being a little bit slept on, right? And there's 2 different things that I think are wins at the back of Armando Blunt breaking out. Is number 1, remember this kid was a reclassified kid. He should have been a true freshman last year, and he was playing his second year of college football. So I think there's a little bit more physical maturation that can take place with Armando Blunt. Number 2, I think you're going to get him in a little bit more of his ideal position. Last year he was forced to play a lot in the middle of the defensive line, which I don't hate in pass rush situations, but Armando Blunt's an edge defender. And because of Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesdor not really coming off the field all that much, and then the injuries and maybe lack of depth that Miami had in the middle of the defensive line, they had to take a kid that should have been a freshman in college and play him in probably not his natural position. Well, now you get Armando Blunt going into year 3. You get him more out on his natural position. I think the sky's the limit for what Armando Blunt can be in the 2026 year. Now, the offensive side of the football, Gerard Pringle. You guys know I am on the Gerard Pringle train going into 2026. And the reason being, last year, he played more than I thought he was going to as a true freshman. I think his dynamism, especially in space, the explosive nature that he brought to the run game was very appealing to Shannon Dawson. He didn't get on the field as consistently as many of us would like. And I think largely he just had some physical maturation to go through. You know what I mean? He was a kid out there as a true freshman, a dynamic kid, one of the fastest players on the football field, but a kid nonetheless. Going into year 2, adding a little bit more body armor and probably earning the trust of the coaching staff a little bit more with some of the intangible parts about being a running back. I think you're going to see him a little bit more of a factor. You kind of have that element of like, all right, Mark Fletcher, he's going to get 20 totes a game, and he's going to just wear on you and kind of grind you into the dirt. And then you get the opportunity to trot out a fresh Gerard Pringle, get him in space, and let him go hit some home runs, so to speak. But I think that his explosive presence in this run game, something that Miami did not have. Miami, we just talked about it the other day, was outside of the top 100 in carries with plus 20 yards. Gerard Pringle can fix that for you going into 2026. There was Alabama came calling in January for Gerard Pringle to be their running back 1, and Miami fought like hell to make sure he stayed in Coral Gables. I think you're going to see a big year from Gerard Pringle, maybe some of the other running backs that we'll get to in some other superlatives. How about the unsung hero? Let's stick on offense here, Ryan Rodriguez. Huge year for Ryan Rodriguez. We've seen Miami go out to the portal and grab veteran center after veteran center after veteran center. This year they didn't. And I like to judge coaches on their actions. Look, if Miami felt the need that they needed a center, they would have gone to the portal and got one. They didn't. And I think that's the trust that they now have with Ryan Rodriguez being ready to be that starting center. And it's a big deal. And the value and why he's an unsung hero is, look, I ain't going to get up here and saying Ryan Rodriguez the best center in the country, because I don't think he is. The experience and the IQ that I think Ryan Rodriguez brings to the table, that's big for an offensive line that's got a lot of moving parts, right? We got a new quarterback, but you also got a true freshman starting at left tackle. You got a right tackle that's never really played the right tackle position significantly before. You're probably going to have a redshirt freshman and Max Buchanan starting right next to you. Man, we got a lot of youth. We got a lot of inexperience. How well does this offensive line come together? I think the talent is there. How well does it come together? Well, you're leaning on Ryan Rodriguez to kind of get everybody on the same page, get the pass protection right, and get kind of guys gelled together up front on the offensive line. I think he is very, very important to what this offensive line might be. Now, on the defensive side of the football, I don't think he's unsung to Miami fans, but maybe nationally, that's Bryce Fitzgerald. I think because of how good Malachi Toney was, we didn't talk about some of the other freshmen that were real studs for Miami last year. And I don't think there was a bigger stud outside of Malachi Toney than Bryce Fitzgerald, who 6 interceptions and he only played 440 snaps. Like, what if you double that, right? Because I don't think Bryce Fitzgerald is going to come off the football field. So he's probably going to be pushing 800 snaps. I mean, he was averaging an interception dang near every 80 snaps he was out on the football field. You talk about a true ball hawk, Bryce Fitzgerald. And he also was a really, really good tackler as a freshman as well. If we're talking about Bryce Fitzgerald as one of the best safeties in the country by the middle of October, I wouldn't be all that surprised. But I feel like we're not talking enough about him going into 2026. Number 4, the X factor. The guys that we're not totally sure what we're going to get from them, but guys that could really help this football team. I don't think there's a bigger X factor on this football team than Hayden Lowe. What are you going to get from him? We're not totally sure, right? We heard a ton of buzz from this kid last year during the offseason, missed his freshman year due to injury, weren't sure if he was going to even be on this roster going into 2026. Well, it sounds like we're tracking to play. And you talk about, again, trying to find the depth and trying to find the run stopping ability. Hayden Lowe, damn near 35-inch arms, 10.5-inch hands, big physical specimen that you think can be really good against the run. He's one of those guys that, like, we're talking about Hayden Lowe starting for this football team. I don't think any of us would be surprised. We're just not totally sure what we're going to get. He's a meaningful X factor for Miami. Then I think on the offensive side of the football, it's, all right, what are you going to get from Matt McCoy at right tackle? Like, does that come together? Matt McCoy's been very, very solid. And Samson Okunlola could be in this conversation as well, but we don't know what he is at tackle. That, in my personal opinion, I feel like a lot of Miami fans say, oh, we're fine at right tackle because Matt McCoy is really good. Like, Matt McCoy is really good at guard. We kind of got to see what he can be consistently at the tackle position. I think that's a really, really big X factor because you don't have a true freshman in Jackson Campbell starting a left tackle. There are going to be some growing pains. It would be huge for this offense to have a consistent presence at right tackle that you don't have to worry about. So when you're trying to set up your pass protections, hey, we can help with a running back with Jackson Campbell, or we can put a tight end over with Jackson Campbell to give him a little bit of an easier job. You can only do that if you get the necessary play from Matt McCoy on the right side. Number 5, most important portal addition on offense, it's very clearly Darian Mensah. Now, on defense, it was between 2. It was between Damon Wilson, but I'm going to go with my guy, Omar Thornton. I think Omar Thornton, when you go back to Miami in 2025 and you rank the most impactful defenders on that Miami defense, Ruben Bain 1, Akeem Mesidor 2, Keontae Scott 3. There were a lot of other good football players, but none of which I'm putting over in terms of impact than Keontae Scott. Will you go out and kind of get a carbon copy of Keontae Scott and Omar Thornton? Can he be that guy in this Miami Hurricanes defense? We know how creative Corey Heatherman wants to get with these nickel corners. We're going to ask them to support the run. We're going to blitz them off the edge as well. It's all things that Omar Thornton excelled at during his time at Boston College. Can he have that kind of presence for Miami in 2026? Really, really important storyline. Number 6, most to prove. I think this was pretty obvious. It was Jordan Lyle. Like, Jordan Lyle was many of you guys know, I was all aboard the Jordan Lyle hype train about 12 months ago. He actually trotted out there as Miami's starting running back against Notre Dame and then dealt with an injury and didn't really see much of him the rest of the year. It's the year. It's year 3. You got a really good running back behind you in Gerard Pringle. This is the year where I don't need you to be the running back 1. We got that with Mark Fletcher. But can you show maybe you're the running back 1 in the 2027 year? Again, this one was interesting because I wouldn't have I'll say it this way. Jordan Lyle had every opportunity to probably transfer out and explore options elsewhere, especially as Mark Fletcher came back and Gerard Pringle came back and Marty Brown came back. He didn't. And I think Miami was okay with him staying too. And so I think there's some underlying confidence that Jordan Lyle can be the guy that we think he can be, but it's kind of the year, right? It's either going to go in two directions. Jordan Lyle puts it all together. Jordan Lyle's in the transfer portal in January. A lot to prove for Jordan Lyle going into 2026. Number 7, the glue guy. Couple of different ones you could go with. I think there was an obvious one, and it's actually transfer portal guy, Motore. He's the elder statesman. In the way I view Motore is he's the connective tissue between what I think is an awesome secondary and an awesome defensive line. But the one position that maybe you're a little bit concerned about is, like, how good are we going to be at linebacker? And the answer is we don't need Miami to be elite at linebacker. They're elite on their defensive line. They're elite in the secondary, but can it continue to be just solid? Motore is the guy that he's going to be your starting linebacker. Whoever plays next to him, can Motore bring out the best of a young linebacker, or Chase Smith too? Number 8, freshman. Most important freshman. I think this is pretty dang easy. On offense is Jackson Camwell. He's your starting left tackle. It's a big deal. On defense, I'm going to go J.J. Dunnigan. I think he's your third safety right now. And so Zachariah Poyser, Bryce Fitzgerald, if either of them have to miss some time, get kicked out because of a targeting call, I think it's J.J. Dunnigan that's going to be playing. And that's a true freshman at the safety position who I think is uber talented. He's going to matter, right? I mean, because of Miami's depth and how talented this team is, they don't have to rely on a ton of true freshmen this year. But J.J. Dunnigan might be one of those guys that he's not going to start the season as a starter, but he might matter to Miami at some point in the 2026 season. Those are my superlatives. A lot of guys that left off the list. Can I go back and circle back to one more player as an X factor? Kellen Wiley at backer. He is different from every other, like physically capable of different things than a lot of these linebackers, especially what he can be in the pass rush. And I look at Corey Heatherman and say, man, if Kellen Wiley has put it together and has earned the trust to get onto the football field, he might be a real difference maker in this Miami defense as well. That's what I went with. Would love to hear from you guys as well. Call your shot, please, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.